79. Evolution or Providence? Chalcedon Report number 130, June 1976. In 1951, a group of prominent Americans wrote on The Fabulous Future, America in 1980. The writers included David Sarnoff, George Meany, Nathan M. Pusey, Earl Warren, Aldi Stevenson, Charles P. Taft, Henry R. Luce, and others of note. They saw as likely by 1980 the global control of climate, a sharing of wealth, and George M. Humphrey, then Secretary of the Treasury, wrote of things to come under the title, The Future, Sound as a Dollar. This glorious future is possible because the management of government is in the hands of men of integrity and high moral purpose. Henry R. Luce said that by 1980, World War III will have happened or been bypassed. But if it had happened, men would have moved ahead into greater progress. Luce saw great change coming in man himself. He saw a new human nature ahead, a new mutation in man's evolution. This great change would be engineered by man himself. Man would control his own evolution in collaboration with God. The key word for Luce was evolution. As he pointed out, the American word before evolution was providence. Precisely. Now, however, a new word, a new gospel had replaced the old. While man was now a collaborator with God, to all practical intent, the new man and his new world would be the handiwork of man. Earlier, the providence of God had been naturalized into laissez-faire. Providence had been retained in its workings, but had been disassociated from God. God remained in the system of Adam Smith as the very necessary insurance agency and foundation, indispensable but best left invisible and unmentioned. Darwin's faith in the omnipotence of chance left God unnecessary. In this new worldview, all things are held possible, given enough time, for chance to accomplish, and nothing is impossible for chance. Now, omnipotence was taken from God and given to chance, or to whatever person or agency could control chance. Man immediately set out, by means of the scientific socialist state, to be that agency, and the result in the 20th century has been the epiphany of the new God, statist man. With this in mind, it is easy to understand the confidence of the authors of The Fabulous Future. They knew the new God well, meeting him as they did daily in their mirrors. They had unlimited confidence in him. The new God has all the benefits the old God lacks, that is, science, sociology, state-controlled education, and much, much more. The new God is not afraid to intervene directly and thoroughly into human affairs, into every sphere of life by means of superimposed controls. Slow, painful trial and error ways are thus obsolete, as well as the necessity for moral decision. A superior agency provides man with the government he needs. The only question in the minds of these new gods is with respect to the people. Will they become a new man, a new mutation, soon enough? The target date, 1980, is approaching, but the hope set forth gets dimmer. John von Neumann of the Atomic Energy Commission had predicted in 1955 that in a few decades hence, energy may be free, just like the unmetered air, with coal and oil used mainly as raw materials for organic chemical synthesis. The new gods have not lacked power. They have governed in almost every nation on earth. They have applied their plan, or their decree of predestination, to one sphere after another. Instead of being content with a mere tithe, as the old God is, the gods have taxed from 40 to 110% of a man's income, and their paradise only becomes more remote rather than nearer. Man's plan has replaced God's providence as the governing principle of men and nations, and it is man's plan that is failing. Surprisingly, however, the very eloquent praise singers of man's plan come from the churches. Man's plan seems to all such to be humane. It shows concern for humanity and is a logical outgrowth of their, quote, Christian, end quote, faith, and so on. Laissez-faire is a dirty word to them, and its root doctrine, providence, a forgotten faith. A city in colonial America was named Providence, and men once felt secure, not because tax money was available to them, but because providence undergirded their total being. Now the word is rarely heard, in or out of church. When the church ceases to speak of providence, it ceases to speak of God. Why? Providence is the superintendence and care which God exercises over creation. It is God's continuous government over all things, in terms of His sovereign lordship, decree and purpose. Where men trust instead in man's plan rather than God's providence, they are, of necessity, antinomian. They substitute man's law for God's law. The government is then upon man's shoulders and in man's hands. In almost all churches today, God is God emeritus, while man reigns instead. God is honoured by lip service, even as he is relegated to the oblivion of retirement. After all, why should the old God interfere with things when the new God is doing so well? If the new God is failing, it is because the people are not yet new mutations, or are clinging too much to their remnants of the old faith. Besides, the new God has only been at the job for a short time. Give me more time, he says, and I will remake all things. In brief, the new God has his own doctrine of laissez-faire. Leave me alone, he says to the old God and his people. Do not interfere with or sabotage my plan. To work, it must have no extraneous impediments. Given that freedom from, quote, outside, end quote, control, anything from God and man which might distress the planners, and paradise will surely come on schedule. In fact, the authors of The Fabulous Future could all but hear the footsteps of paradise approaching. Now, of course, their spiritual sons hear them too, but they suspect that it is the beast and hell which approaches. And, as long as a man's plan operates, nothing else can result. Providence, anyone?